The next project we're going to do is a little fish shape, introducing willow. So here's the finished article, and here's the willow, which constitutes a frame, and then we weave the rush, and we've interspersed a bit of weaving of willow, rush and a willow nose, and a little bit of cordage at the end. Cut your willow sticks to size before you begin. Cut directly at right angles to the stick, not too slanty. You can of course cut a point, that would give you a sharp end, that would give you a blunt end. I just take any old bit of willow and hold it up, it'll have a natural belly, the way it wants to bend, the belly being the inside and the back of the stick being the outside. So here I am running my thumbs on the inside, on the belly of the stick, shuffling along, doing little tiny teasing bends, and gently, very gently, a small amount, just arcing it. I'm not trying to make it kink. I then hold the two ends like this and slowly, 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 very slowly bring them together. By doing this really slowly, you are letting the fibres take time to stretch without breaking or kinking. Now, as you get to cross the two ends, inevitably the stick will kink, but that's handy because it makes a nice pointy nose for your fish or your whale or your leaf shape or anything else you want to call it. Invite the children to wipe the rush from the thin end, and it's always good if they test that very thin end, and if it comes off, that's great. Get them to play an orchestra. I take the thin end and I put it under my thumb, like that. I will put the piece of rush through the tail. This is the tail here. And then I just come round and wrap it 3 times. Oh, there you go, that will often happen. So get the children to test the tip first and break off the weakest bit. This should be a bit stronger. So hold those together and go round 1, 2, 3. Then I go over the tail again and come round 3 times at right angles to the first wrap by coming through the middle of the fish. 1, 2, 3. And then I do a few bits of the weave, which is over one side, up through the centre of the shape, over the other side, back through the centre. So this is weaving the rush in and out of the frame, as opposed to just wrapping it. So now I'm going in and out of the frame. If the children are very young, I will give them something like that already made and just show them how to go round, up through the centre and round the other side. If they're not very dexterous or able-bodied, I might hold the tip for them so that they don't have to hold the frame, and then they'll be perhaps doing it even like this, posting the end through and pulling it. If they want a bit more of a challenge, because they're older and neat, you can invite them to make sure the rush is really flat as opposed to crinkled, and that it comes through and it crosses here in the middle of this space. They could even twist the rush if you want a bit more challenge. If there's older children, you get them to twist it like that, which will give a different look, to be thinner and slightly narrower. And within one rush there's a huge variety of colour. Just slot the new rush in where the old one comes out. So just put it in beside it, put your finger on it and carry on weaving. If they're a bit older and can take this on board, get them to twist the old with the new like that, so that they tidy the little end away. I always invite the children to leave all the ends sticking out till they've finished the project, because it's very sad when they cut things off too quickly, too short. So you can turn the fish and then pull it through with their finger like that. They could go all the way to the end and post it through. If I'm introducing a piece of willow, the children will find it a bit more difficult to weave, so this is really for ones with a bit more dexterity and skill. But they can stretch the piece of willow, they can warm up the fibres, as we say, by running their thumb along like that, and then put the butt end in where this little end comes out, put it in like that and hold it with your finger, let it stick out, and then you can get a grip. You don't want this to move as you stretch it round the frame. And the willow, a little bit more difficult, you've got to make a big loop, and then you've got to sort of press it with your fingers against the willow. So, do you see, if you leave it like that, you'll have an elbow which won't look so good. So you've got to stretch it and press it. So you pull it with a bit of tension like that, and then it sits round there tightly. Make a bit of a loop and then pull it through. So you always want to make sure, if you're going to weave with willow, it's got to be a lot thinner than the frame. Okay, so like this one, a lot thinner and flexible. You can just have a little stripe of willow, for example, like that, and then you could go back to your rush, add them in like that, don't worry about any ends sticking out till afterwards. And if you want to try and be neat, bring it through, and as this one goes round, tuck the end up like that and see if you can just cover it. A nice strong fish will have all of these rows pushed back towards the tail each time. Do you see? Like push like that back to keep all this tight. For the nose, there's a few ideas. You can either carry on with a rush, just threading it through, or you could use a tiny bit of willow. So if I use another little bit of willow, I can put it through like that, put my finger on it, stretch it round, and then make a loop and thread it through. The good thing about using a little bit of willow for the nose is it doesn't slip, and you can get it quite tight with not too much problem. If the willow tears like that, because it's such a sharp thing, just give it a few twists, and sometimes you can save the day by just twisting and then going on top of the break. Now if you can't get in there, this is where the third tool could come into play, which is the bodkin. Basketmaker's bodkin. It's a pointed spike basically, and you could whittle one out of a piece of wood, or you could possibly use a knitting needle or something, but You can buy from craft shops and things quite cheap bodkins. Then you've got your little fish like that, and you can trim it off. Use scissors for the rush and use the secateurs for the willow. You can just slip a bit of rush in like that, and you could just, you could tie that to another stick or something, and off you'd go with the fishing rod, you see. Other children might like to find out where the balance point on the fish is. Thread through a rush like that, if you want, or you can just tie a knot and it can simply be a bit of rush, or if you've run out of rush, use a string. If you wanted to just go straight into the cordage from here, you would just twist the right hand one away from you, bring it over the left, twist the right hand one away, bring it over the left. Hold it between your knees like that so that they can pull, and then they can do it nice and quickly. If they wet their hands and their fingers, then it works really well. But you can see it's a simple project. You don't need any tools, and if you as a teacher pre-cut the sticks to size, you don't even need the secateurs until you want to tidy it off.